Joe Biden, your friend, our friend, friend of the show. He might call in later. He did a town hall the other day, and someone stood up and asked him, would you cancel $50,000 in student loan debt? What was the quote that he said, Kai? He said,
I will not
make that happen. He stood his ground. Here's the story. President Joe Biden shot down a proposal to cancel $50,000 in student loan debt for every borrower, despite the pressure from leading Democratic lawmakers to do that. Obviously, that's the Bernies of the world, the AOCs, the Elizabeth Warrens. An audience member at a CNN town hall told Biden that student debt is, quote unquote, crushing her friends, family, and fellow Americans. We need student loan forgiveness beyond the potential $10,000 your administration has proposed. She said, we need at least $50,000 minimum. Will you be able to make that happen? Biden responded, I will not make that happen. One sentence. Biden has proposed canceling $10,000 in student loan debt as a part of the coronavirus relief, while Democratic Senators Chuck Schumer and Elizabeth Warren called on Biden to cancel up to $50,000 in student loan debt per borrower. During Tuesday's town hall a couple days ago, Biden expressed skepticism about the idea of canceling the billions of dollars of debt that people who have gone to Harvard, Yale, and Penn, referring to Ivy League institutions. Is that going to be forgiven rather than use that money to provide for early education for young children who come across disadvantaged circumstances? Biden said. So a lot of the concern with Biden was he was going to go extreme. He was going to pander to the AOCs of the world. He was going to cave. He's a puppet. He's not going to stand his ground. He's spineless. All the Sleepy Joe. And he's like, no, I'm not going $50,000. Sorry, I'm not going to do it. I might give you 10. I might, but I'm not going 50. Line in the sand. I'm not going to do it. And obviously the story 2 weeks ago was AOC says, no, we need to push him. We can't just settle for $10,000. We need to push. We need to push. It seems like he's made up his mind. Do you believe him, Tom?
I do. I will say this. I'm man enough to say that I underestimated him a little bit, and I'm impressed. I'm impressed by his actions here. I'll judge him on a per-case basis, but for this, I think it takes strength to flat out say to someone asking you that question, because the politician always wants to validate them, make them feel good. Yes, I'll do whatever. Yes, it's complete BS. I think it takes strength and leadership.
He could say, I'm thinking about it. It's something we're considering. He came out and said, no, not going to happen.
And I applaud him for that. And a couple things. Number one, I guess my biggest fear was that he would be that puppet. And he's showing so far that he's not. They've completely minimized the squad and these radicals. I mean, these far left. He's basically saying, I got no time for you. Here's my theory on this. Joe Biden is old school. He was a senator for 40 years, all right? He's paid his dues. He's not going to finally get in the big chair and let these young punks who don't know what they're talking about, who run on pure emotion, who don't bring any of the real concepts of what made America great into their arguments. I love the fact he's Heismaning all of them.
Stiff arm. He's giving him the stiff arm. Great analogy right there.
But, he doesn't even listen to them, which is even better. Yeah. And imagine what that's doing to them. It's minimizing them completely. And now they're just sounding like, crazy.
These young punks.
Yeah. And you know what?
Speaking of young punks, Kai, how you doing over there, buddy? Student loan debt. What are your thoughts on this?
No, I think, the first thing that comes to my mind is, why are we letting universities off the hook?
Okay.
Well,
go deep on that. Go ahead.
That have the debt.
No, exactly. But the kids have the debt. I mean, they knew what they're going into. You don't look. It's not like they're all hidden costs. I mean, you see very clearly. I remember when I was looking at schools, I saw very clearly like tuition, semester, XYZ, and you're like, all right, you're doing 2 semesters a year times 4 years, and you can crunch the numbers pretty quickly. So I think, if anything, if we're trying to limit student debt, you should go after the universities that are hiking up these educations where you're paying, I don't know, 20, 30 grand a semester for a Zoom college. Yeah. I don't see that. Like,
well, I mean, look about what does Harvard have in their Harvard fund? What is it called?
The endowment.
In their endowment fund,
hundreds of billions and billions of dollars, where they could pay for every Harvard student the next probably tens of years, and somehow they still need that money just laying around there, and they're charging full price even though nobody's at school. So, I mean, I think that's what I think is outrageous, that we're accepting that they're can just charge these astronomical fees without even thinking, oh, and then the question is, well, we need to forgive the student debt from the people, the students coming there. But it's like, no. First of all, you know what you're getting into. Second of all, why aren't we turning the lens of focusing on the schools? Why the hell are you charging this tuition? Like, what are they actually getting for this tuition? And why is it so high? And I think those are the two bigger questions rather than looking at what you're going to do. Another interesting study, which was done by University of Chicago, a working paper published Monday by the University of Chicago Becker-Friedman Institute for Economics show that erasing all student debt would distribute $192 billion to the top 20% earners in the U.S., but just $29 billion to the bottom 20% of U.S.
Say those
households.
numbers one more time, please.
If they're by forgiving the student debt, they would $192 billion would go to the top 20%, top 20 earners in the U.S., and just 29% would go to the bottom 20%.
So the rich would get richer, is what you're saying.
The rich would get less.
Yeah.
They would get more debt raised.
Because they have bigger loans.
Of course, you're going to Harvard. You're going to go to
and the percentage of
Graduate
them are
school.
more in schools.
grad school.
So they-
Exactly. So here's the question, guys, because I want to cover a couple of topics. What's the number? Is it 10? It's clearly not 50. Is it 0? What number are you comfortable with erasing?
Why is he doing it at all? I mean, I
So
don't.
zero.
Well, look.
no bailout whatsoever for
where
students.
does it? Okay, thank God he said no to wiping it all away, because there'd be no such thing as debt
Agreed.
anymore.
Agreed.
What about car loans? What about mortgages? What about credit card debt?
Slippery
Everybody
slope.
would be up there. Incredibly slippery slope. So, look, I don't think you want to. That's not his job. Is to finally become president and then just figure out what debt loads he can wipe away. So I would say.
Well, especially when you're adding more stimulus.
I mean,
1.9 proposals
Can
still
you
on the table
imagine
right now.
just the
The
paperwork?
what's the current student loan debt? 1.5 trillion. Mario, you want to
1.8.
1.8? Is it that high now?
How do you even manage this? You know, as far as wiping away these loans and the percentages, and it would be an absolute nightmare. So, kudos to him.
Mario Aguilar, what's the number?
1.7.
1.7. Kai, you've been like 1 point off on every. Like Bob Barker would be very upset with you right now. You're like one. You're a
what it
little
is.
over on everything.
It is what it is.
Paul Escarsico, what you got?
Kai would be going to the Showcase Showdown for us.
Dun, dun, dun,
Well, I
dun,
think
dun,
Kai had a point, but I want to go further on Kai's point. I think, again, they're trying to solve maybe the student loan debt, but really there is an opportunity for the country to make more money. And we all are free market capitalists here, but they should change the tax bracket of universities. Instead of, you can charge whatever you want, cool, but now you're paying taxes. They've been, protected by the government and don't pay taxes, but they can charge whatever you want. Well, there's a little bit of a math problem wrong there. So I think reversing that would actually solve more problems. You'd increase the revenue of our country and be able to afford all that. And then people can pick and choose whether they want to go there. And again, give them more of that freedom back.
Plus,
to the
they could
people.
earmark some of that tax money to take care of $10,000 or 10% of this
exactly.
debt.
You can actually pay for this own problem.
A big part of it as well is like you have. I get that schools, if you're just thinking like class and this and that and the other, that they're not taxed. But you have schools that have major football teams, you have major baseball teams, all these other sports teams where they
Mostly
have arenas,
major football and basketball.
where they have arenas that are housing like thousands of people, where they're charging for the tickets, they're charging for sales of jerseys or what have you, food, anything like that. And on top of that, they have major TV contracts, and all of this, they're funneling money in, and they're still not taxed. That doesn't make sense either.
So bottom line, we agree with Biden on this. We thumbs up or thumbs down on Biden's decision to stand his ground? You said thumbs up.
Yeah, stand his ground, 100%.
Stand his ground.
Yeah,
thumbs
yeah.
up on
I
this?
think it's a bonus in his
Thumbs up?
positive in his book.
Joe Biden getting thumbs up.
Hey, I
Look at that.
love Paul's idea, though. Seriously, my daughter just graduated from college last year, and she got completely robbed because she wasn't able to experience the final month. She couldn't even have a graduation. It's
BS.
They should cut a check and pay some of the money back to the parents. That's not what we signed up for. That's not, you know what I mean? Especially a school like she went to, Pepperdine, where the graduation is on a cliff overlooking the ocean. It's an incredible experience. And she got robbed. Probably the only Pepperdine class that wasn't able to do it.
Yeah.
Colleges, man, it's changing. If you watch what's going on, it is changing. It needs to affect the actual universities, though, because it's starting to affect the big college football programs. They're giving the football players more leeway. You know, it used to be total control by these coaches. They make $5 million and they're just dictators. Now, if you're not happy where you are, you can enter this transfer portal, so you can essentially just leave if you're a college football player. College coaches are freaking out. I think the same thing will happen with chancellors. If they start saying, hey, look, you know, we're going to take a good look at this gravy train that you've created for yourself. You're creating all your own rules. You're responsible for educating these kids, which a lot of people aren't in favor of your methods right now. I would love for them to take a big look at it, because there's a lot of money there that could be going in other directions.
Great word, gravy train. I like that word.
So if you enjoyed this little short segment from the podcast that we did, here's another short segment to watch. Or if you want to see the entire podcast, click over here. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.